Hello guys, my name is Sangamdal and welcome back to my channel. Hello everyone, welcome back to our complete Python course series in which we study Python from basic from high level. Today we will learn one of the most important concepts in Python, functions. Functions help us to avoid repeating code by allowing us to write a block of code once and reuse it whenever needed. This makes programs cleaner, shorter, and easier to manage. In this section, we will cover what functions are used, where, and why we use them, creating functions, parameters and arguments, return statements, default and keyword arguments, and local versus global scope, and some mini projects. By the end, you will be able to confident in writing your own reusable functions. So open your editor code along with me and let's start day 6 Python functions. Without delay any time, let's go to computer screen and start the our Python series. Hello everyone, welcome back to day 6 of our Python complete series. I hope all of you completed yesterday practice questions because today's topic is built on everything we have learned so far. Before moving ahead, let's quickly revise what we learned and covered in day 5. Yesterday, we learned about loops, one of the most important concepts in programming. The first, we learned about for loop, uh, a for loop used whenever we know how many times we want to repeat something. After that, we learned about while loop. Unlike the for loop, a while loop runs on as long as condition remains true. Then we learned about range function. The range functions help us to generate sequence. Like example, I am giving you range 1 comma 11 generates number from 1 to 10. After that, we studied three important loop control statements like break, continue, pass. Break stops the iteration completely. Continue skips the current iteration and move the to next one. And me- me- pass does not do anything. It is simply a placeholder. Whenever Python expects a block of code, but we don't want to write it yet, we use pass. After that, we explored nested loops. Nested loops simply mean writing one loop inside another loop. These are very useful for solving matrix problems, creating patterns, and working with two-dimensional data. Then we solved several important programming questions. We learned how to check whether a number is prime or not. A prime number is divisible only by one and itself. We also wrote a program to calculate the factorial of a number. Then we generate the famous Fibonacci series where every number is the sum of the previous two numbers. Along with this concept, we also solve multiplication tasks, numbers patterns, star patterns, and many practice problems that help us improve our logical thinking. If we have not ever practiced those programs yet, I highly recommend that you pause this video after today's class and solve them yourself. Programming is not a subject that you learn by watching videos. Programming is learned by writing code. The more you practice, the stronger your logic becomes. Now, from today onwards, we will start learning a concept that professional developers use every single day. Imagine you are writing a large Python program with 500 or even 5,000 lines of code. Suppose you need to calculate the same thing in 10 different places. Will you write the same code in 10 times? Of course not. That would make the program longer, confusing, and difficult to maintain. Instead, we create a function once and call it whenever we need it. Functions helps us avoid repetition, improve readability, reduce errors, and make our code reusable. Whether you are building websites, games, AI applications, machine learning models, automation scripts, or software applications, functions are everywhere. So today's class is extremely important. By the end of this video, you will know how to create your own functions, pass data to them, return values, and write cleaner and more professional Python programs. So without wasting any more time, let's begin day 6 and master Python functions. Now let's begin today's topic, functions. Functions are one of the most important concepts in Python. In fact, almost every real world Python project, whether it's a website, a game, an AI applications, or a data science project, or is built using functions. So if you understand functions well, you have crossed one of the most biggest milestone in learning Python. What is a function? Let's first understand the problem. Suppose I ask you to print welcome to Python. That's easy. You write here, well, print welcome to Python. Now imagine I ask you to print this line message 100 times. You are doing like that. You print one, two, three, four, up to 100 times. What will you do? Some beginners might starting writing this and keep repeating it again and again. Can you imagine writing it this 100 times? That would take a lot of time. Your program would become unnecessarily long. If later you wanted to change the message from welcome to Python to welcome to programming, you had to edit it in 100 places. That is definitely not a smart way to write code. Professional programmers never repeat the same code again and again. Instead, they create a function. So functions let us write a block of code once and execute it whenever we need it. This saves, reduces errors, and makes the code much cleaner. Definition of function is a function is simply a reusable block of code that performs a specific task. This think of like a function. Machine. Imagine a coffee machine. Whenever you press the button, it prepares coffee. You don't rebuild the machine every time you want coffee. Similarly, in Python, we write a functions once and call it whenever we need that task. Creating our first functions, def greet welcome to Python. Here, our first function. Let's understand this line by line. That the first keyword is def. The word def stands for define. It tells Python I am creating a function. After that comes the function name, greet. You can choose almost any meaningful name, for example, greet, hello, display, welcome, anything. Good programmers always choose names that describe what the function does. After the name, we write parentheses. Right now, they are empty. Later, we will put values inside them. After the parentheses, we write a colon. Just like we used colons with if, for, and while. Functions also require a colon. Then comes the indent block. Print welcome to Python. Print welcome to Python. Everything inside this indentation belongs to the function. Remember this: if indentation is wrong, Python will give an error. Will this print automatically? Now, let me ask you something. We created the function. Will it automatically print the message? Many beginners think yes, but the answer is no. A function only gets created, it does not run automatically. To execute it, we must call the function. Calling a function to call it simply write its name followed by parentheses. Like I write here greet and parentheses. Now Python jumps inside the function and execute every line. First I remove this code and then run this code. Simple. It will print welcome to Python. Very important question. Remember the rule forever. Defining a function is not the same as executing it. Creating the functions only stores it in memory. Calling the functions actually runs it. Think about your mobile phone. Installing WhatsApp does not mean WhatsApp start running. You must tap its icon. Similarly, writing def greet creates the functions, runs it. This is one of the most common interview questions. Another example is write def hello hello students welcome. Notice something. This function has two print statements. Both belong to the function because they are properly indented. Now let's call it hello. Output prints hello students welcome. Now let's call it again here. I write here hello and parenthesis. When we run this code, it will two times print welcome students. Hello students, welcome. So the complete output becomes two times hello students, welcome. So how useful functions are? We wrote the code only once, but we executed it twice. If you call it 10 times, it will print 10 times hello students, welcome. That's why functions reduce code duplication. Functions save time. Imagine you are developing a school management system. Every time a student logs in, you want to display welcome students. Instead of writing everywhere welcome students, you simply create one function here like def welcome students. Done. If tomorrow you want to change that message, you edit one place, Every functions call automatically uses the updated version. This is one of the biggest advantages of functions. Why do we use functions? Functions help us avoid writing the same message, same code repeatedly, make programs shorter, improve readability, and reduce mistakes, make code out reusable, organize large projects. Without functions, writing pro software like Instagram, YouTube, WhatsApp, or Amazon would be almost impossible. Instead of remembering every step by step, web that one command performs all the steps. Our function works exactly the same way. Instead of writing many lines repeatedly, you write only one function, and whenever you need it, you simply call its name. Now you have learned how to create a function and a call a function. But there's an interesting question. What if we want to our function to work with different names, different numbers, or different values every time we call it? For that, we use something called parameters and arguments, which we will learn in the next section. Now that we have learned how to create a and call a function, let's make our first functions much more powerful. Let me ask you a question. Suppose we have this function like greet, greet function. It will print hello, welcome to Python. No matter how many times we call it, the output never changes. But what if I want to greet different people? For example, I I write here, welcome Sangam, welcome Rahul, welcome Priya, welcome Aman. Should I create four different functions like this? Should I have to create first I remove all of them? If I have to write like this all the time, also change here. Hello. Absolutely no. Imagine you have 500 students in a class. Will you create 500 different functions? That would be a terrible idea. Instead, Python gives us something called parameters and arguments. This allows us to use the same functions on different for different values. What are parameters? Let's create a function. First, I remove all of this. Create a function. Greet. Here I write name, and here I write print hello, comma name. Notice something new there. Inside parentheses, we have written name. This is called a parameter. A parameter is simply a variable that receives data whenever the function is called. Think of it as an empty box waiting to receive a value. At this point, the parameter does not have any value. It is just waiting, calling the functions. Now let's call the functions. Like I am calling like that. First, I write here greet. Then I am calling like greet Sangam. And when I run this code, it will print hello Sangam. What happened here? Python takes the value Sangam and store it inside the parameter name. So internally, Python thinks like this: name equal to Sangam. Now the print statements becomes hello Sangam. Therefore, the output is hello Sangam. Let's try another value here. I write here print Rahul. When we run this code, it will print. Oh, sorry. I write here greet Rahul. When I run this code, it will print hello Rahul. See, we did not change the function. We only changed the value we passed. That's the beauty of parameters. One function can work with unlimited data. What and the second topic is parameter versus argument. Now comes one of the most commonly asked interview questions. Students often confuse parameter and argument. Let's understand the difference carefully. Look at the function greet name. Here, name is called the parameter. Why? Because it is written inside the function definition. It is just a variable. Now look here. I write here greet Sangam or greet Rahul. Sangam and Rahul is an argument. An argument is the actual value that we pass while calling the function. So remember this simple rule. Parameter. A variable written inside the function in definition is the parameter. The real values are passed during the function call is the argument. I am giving you the definition here. In note section, I am giving you also a definition of parameter and definition of argument. Easy trick to remember is here's a shortcut that you will never forget. Parameter is equal to placeholder, argument is equal to actual value. Think about online shopping. Suppose Amazon asks name, address, mobile number. These fields are like parameters when you type Sangamra, Rachi, and the mobile numbers of yours. Those actually details becomes arguments. Exactly the same thing happens in Python. Another example is greet name. I am also in right here greet Simran. It will print hello Simran. Did we write three different functions? No, one function handle all three values. Next topic is multiple parameters. Now suppose we want both student's name and age. We can create multiple parameters. Like I write the code like this: def student name, comma age, print name and age. Notice that the parameters are separated using commas. Now let's call the functions. Like I am calling like here student name Simran, comma age 19. Let's understand why Python does internally. What Python does internally. First, remove this all of this, then run this code. It will print Simran 19. Let's understand. It matches value one by one. Name equal to Simran and age equal to 19. Then it executes print name and age. That's why we get Simran 19. Another example is here is student Sangam 19. When we run this code, it will also print Sangam 19. Same function, different values, different outputs. Order matters. One important thing to remember. Python matches argument according to their order. Suppose I write here student 19, comma, similar. And now Python thinks name equal to 19 and age equal to similar. When we run this code, it will print opposite, which is incorrect for our requirement. So always pass argument in the correct order, unless you use keyword argument, which we will learn later. What happen if we forget an argument? Suppose the functions expect true values, but we call it like o- only giving one value. First, I remove all of this and give student and then only Sangam. Python immediately gives an error. When we run this code, it will give an error because one parameter is missing. Similarly, if the function expects one value and we call like this, first comment out this part and write this code. Greet name, print name, like. And here I write here greet parenthesis. And when we run this code, it will give an error. Python again gives an error because it did not receive the required argument. So remember the number of required arguments should match the number of required parameters. Mm, The actual value is the argument. The machine receives the argument and gives an parameter to print the argument. One, I am giving you one real life example. Think about a water bottle. The water bottle is empty. That empty bottle is like a parameter. You can fill it with water, juice, milk, coffee. Whatever you pour inside becomes the argument. The container stays the same. Only the contents change. Similarly, a function remains the same, but the arguments can change every time. Why parameters are important? Parameters make functions flexible, reusable, dynamic, easy to maintain. Instead of creating hundreds of different functions, we create one smart functions and simply pass different arguments whenever needed. This is how professional programmers write clean and efficient code. Now we have learned how functions can receive data using parameters and arguments. But there's are very important questions. Suppose a function calculates something. How can we use that calculated value somewhere else in our program? For that, Python gives us one of the most important keywords, return. If you truly understand return, you will be able to solve much more advanced programming problems. So let's understand it step by step. First, I remove this part. First is function without return. Let's start with a simple example I am giving you here. When we run this program, the output is 30. Simple enough. The function calculated 10 plus 20 printed the answer. Now let me ask you something. Suppose I want to store this answer inside a variable. Can I do this? Yes. I write here result add. Here I write result add. Many beginners think the answer will be 30. Let's check. When I print here result, the answer is known. Wait, why did you non appear? We never printed known. So where did it come from? This is one of the most confusing topics for beginners. Let's understand it carefully. Why does none appear? Whenever a function finishes executing, Python automatically sends something back. If you don't write a return statement, Python automatically returns. That means this line or actually becomes result equal to none. Inside the functions, Python printed 30, but it never returned 30. So the variable stored none instead. This is the biggest difference between printing a value and returning a value. Understand, print functions job is very simple. Only displays something on the screen. For example, print hello. It will display hello. Once the text is displayed, the work of print function is finished. It did not send and the value anywhere. It only shows it. Understanding return. If I write here return, and when we run this code, it will print 30 correctly. First, we created the functions. This function receives two numbers inside the function. Instead of writing print, we wrote return. Now what happens? Python calculates 10 plus 20 becomes 30. Then instead of printing it, the function sends 30 back to wherever the function was called. So this line result equal to add, it will print result equal to 30. And then print result gives us 30. Notice something important. The function itself never printed anything. It only returned value. The printing happened outside the function. This is how professional programmers actually usually write functions. Visual flow of this is, imagine this function like this. We call it Python performs these steps like a equal to 10 and b equal to 20. Step to a plus b, then it becomes 30, and Python execute return 30. Then the return value goes back to result. I write here result is equal to add 30 and remove this. So finally, when we print result, it will print 30. That's exactly how return works. Think of return as a delivery person. Let's understand with a real life example. Imagine you order food online. The restaurant prepares your food. Now, there are two possibilities. Case one, the chef simply shows the food through a glass window. You can see it, but you can't eat it. This is like print function. It only displays. Case 2. The delivery person brings the food to your home. Now you can eat it, you can share it, you can store it. This is like return. It sends the value back to the caller. Another example I am giving you like on screen, like I am giving you a square example. First comment out this part, square example. Let's understand this. The function receives n equal to 5. Now Python calculates 5 into 5. It will become 35, 25. Then the function returns 25. And Python, now this is in a print square 5. Actually becomes 20, print 25. Output is 25. Very simple. Why return better than print? Suppose we want to calculate the square of a number, then multiply it by 2. If the function only prints, we cannot use the result rate later. But with return, we can, for example, I am giving you like this. Let's understand. The function return 25. Now answer 25. Finally, 25 into 2. The output becomes 50. This would not be possible if you only use print function. eh, Print inside the function. That's why return is much more powerful. Return ends the function. One more important thing. Whenever Python reaches a return statement, the function immediately stops. Look at this example. Like first comment out this part, and then this is the example. What do you think the output will be? It prints only hello only. The second print statement never runs. Like I'm giving you demo. When I run this code, it will print only hello. Second part is not run because as soon as Python sees return, it exits the functions. This is another very important interview questions. Difference between print and return. Print displays output on the screen, cannot be used later in the program, mainly used in testing and debugging. I am also giving you notes here. And return sends a value back to the caller, can be stored inside variables, can be used in calculations, can be passed to the other functions, makes functions reusable and powerful. A simple way to remember is print shows the result, return gives the result back. Almost every function in Python built-in library uses return. Like functions like this are length, maximum, minimum, sum, sorted, all return values. That's why you can write code like length, Python, largest, maximum 10, 50, 20. If these functions only printed The result, instead of returning it, they would not be nearly as useful. So understanding return is essential for writing professional Python programmers. So far, we have learned how to create a function, pass arguments, and return values. Now, let's make our functions even smarter. Let me ask you a simple question. Suppose you are creating a function that welcomes a user. Now, most of the time, the user provides their name, but sometimes they don't. Should the function give an error, or should it still work? Python gives us a very useful feature called default arguments to solve this problem. Default arguments allow us to assign a value to a parameter in advance. If the user does not provide any value, Python automatically uses the default value. This makes our functions more flexible and user friendly. What is default argument? Let's look at our first example. First, I remove all of this, then I write here. This is the first example. Notice something different. Earlier, we only wrote def country name, but this time we wrote name equal to India. This means the parameter's name already has a value. Its default value is India. Now let's call the function like here country and parenthesis. We did not pass any argument. So what do you think will happen? Many beginners think Python will give an error, but it does not. Instead, Python says no value was provided, so I will use the default value output India. Simple. Calling with another value. Now suppose we call the functions like this country Japan. Now Python ignores the default value. Why? Because we supplied our own argument. So remember this rule. If an argument is provided, Python uses that argument. If no argument is provided, Python uses the default value. This is the basic idea behind default arguments. How Python thinks. Let's understand what Python is doing internally. Case 1. Country parenthesis calling country. Python thinks name equal to India becomes because no value was supplied. Output India. Case 2. Country and I am giving argument Japan. Python thinks name equal to Japan. The new argument replaces the default value, output Japan. So the result value is only used when no argument is passed. A real life example I am giving you, one field says country, the default option is already selected as. Imagine you are filling an online registration form. One field says country. The default option is already selected in India. If you are from India, you don't need to change anything. You simply click submit. But if you are from Japan, you click the drop down and select Japan. Exactly the same thing happens with default arguments. Python already has a default value ready. If you provide another value, Python replace it. If you don't, Python keeps the default one. Another example. Let's create another function like here. The default value is cached. Now let's call the functions without passing anything. When I run this code, comment out this part and run this code. It will print welcome guest. Python automatically use the default value. Now let's call it again by welcome Aman. This time Python ignored guest value. We passed in a new argument. Python prints welcome Aman. I am giving you task. You have to try few more examples like Simran, Sangam, Ravi, Rahul, Priya, anything. The same function works for everyone. If no name is given, the functions become welcomes guest. If a name is provided, it welcomes that person. Real world example. Mobile phone. Think about your mobile phone. Suppose your ringtone is already set to default ringtone. Whenever someone calls, your phone plays the default ringtone. But if you assign a simple special ringtone to your best friend, the phone uses that ringtone instead. So default ringtone is equal to default argument and custom ringtone argument passed by the user. Python behaves exactly the same way. One more example I am giving you real life. Online food delivery. Imagine you are ordering a pizza. The website asks, would you like extra cheese? If you don't choose anything, the order goes with the default option. No extra cheese, but if you select extra cheese, your choice overrides the default. Multiple default arguments. Default values can also be used with multiple parameters. For example, I am giving you first comment out this and this like this. When we call the function student, their parenthesis output is guest 18. If I write here Simran 90, then run this code, it will print Simran 90. Notice what happened. We only changed the name, the age, and remained. It will remove the default value. If we only change the name only, it will use name itself and default value age. This makes function very flexible. Rules are default argument. There are some important rules for every Python programmer should remember. Rule 1. Default values are optional. You don't have to use them. Rule 2. If an argument is passed, Python ignores the default value. Rule 3. If no argument is passed, Python automatically use the default value. Rule 4. Very important. Parameters with default values should come after normal parameters. This will produce a syntax error. Uh, If it is looking like, always remember normal parameters first, default parameters later. This is a very common interview and exam question. Why do we use default argument? Default argument make our functions more flexible, easy to use, user friendly, sorted and cleaner, less prone to error. Instead of forcing users to provide every rule, every value, we can provide sensible defaults. That's why default arguments are widely used in real world software development. Let's summarize. A default argument is a value assigned to a parameter when the function is defined. If no argument is passed, Python uses the default value. If an argument is passed, Python uses the new value and ignores the default. I am also giving in note section here. Now, Now we have learned about parameters, arguments, return statements, and default arguments. Let's move to another very useful concept in Python called keyword arguments. This is a feature that makes your functions more readable and help us to avoid mistakes when passing multiple values. Before understanding keyword arguments, let's quickly revise how we normally pass arguments. Suppose we have this function like this. If you call it like this, student Rahul 20. The output is Rahul 20. Python matches the values based on their positions. The first value goes to the first parameter, the second value goes to the second parameter. Internally, Python thinks like this: name equal to Rahul, age equal to 20. Everything works perfectly. The problem with positional arguments, but suppose we accidentally change the order. Instead of writing this, I am giving this. Sorry. I am writing student student 20 Rahul. Then run this code. It will give an incorrect answer. Python does not understand that 20 is an age, Rahul is a name. It only follows the order, so internally Python does this. Name equal to 20, age equal to Rahul. Clearly, this is not a what we wanted. This happens because Python is matching values according to their positions. When a function has a many parameters, remembering the correct order becomes difficult. To solve this problem, Python provides keyword arguments. What are keyword arguments? Keyword arguments Keyword arguments allows us to pass values using the parameters name instead of their positions. Let's see some examples of keyword arguments. First, I remove this part, then I write this function. Notice something interesting. We passed age first, name second. Normally, this should have produced the wrong output, but it did not. Why? Because we used keywords. Python now ignores the order. Instead, it matches the values using the parameter names. Internally, Python thinks name equal to Rahul is equal to 20. That's why output is correct. How Python reads keyword arguments. Let's understand the Python. When Python sees student age equal to 20, name equal to Rahul, it does look at the position instead it reads the keywords. It finds age equal to 20 and stores 20 in the age parameter, and it finds name equal to Rahul and stores Rahul in the name parameter. Only after assigning all values does it execute the functions. This is why keyword arguments are much easier. Biggest advantage. The biggest advantage is that the order does not matter. Whether you write name equal to Rahul, age equal to 20, or student age equal to 20, name equal to Rahul. Both produce exactly the same output. This makes the code much easier to read. Real life example like this, imagine you are filling an online application form. The form contains fields like name, age, city, email. Does it matter whether you fill the email first or name second? No, because every field has a label. The label tells the system where each value belongs. Keyword arguments work exactly the same way. The parameters act like labels. So Python knows exactly whether every value should go. Another example. Let's create another function like this. The output of this is Patna Bihar. Let's understand. Inside the function, the first parameter is city and the second parameter is state. But while calling the function, we wrote city state is equal to Bihar and first and city is equal to Patna second. Did Python get confused? Not at all, because the keyword clearly tells Python where each value belongs. Internally, Python thinks it is equal to Patna and the state is equal to Bihar. Then it prints Patna Bihar. More example like I am giving you some tasks. You have to make functions and apply some keyword arguments and change and use two to three keyword and many more. You can use name, state, and class. Everything you can check and make code. Notice that we change the order again and again. You have also to change the order again and again in every function. You have to make 5 functions. Still, Python produce the correct result. That's the power of keyword argument. Mixing positional and keyword arguments. Now here's an important rule. You can use both positional and keyword arguments together. For example, I am writing here like that. When we run this code, it will print Rahul 20 correctly. Python understands is name equal to Rahul, age equal to 20. However, once you start using keyword arguments, you cannot place positional arguments after them. For example, I write here this part. It will give an syntax error, name error. Once you start using this is wrong, Python will give an syntax error or name error. Also remember this rule. Positional arguments first, keyword arguments after them. Why do we use keyword argument? Keywords arguments provide several advantages. The order of values does not matter. The code becomes easier to read. It reduces mistakes, but functions have many parameters. It makes large programs easier to maintain. That's why you will see keyword arguments used extensively in professional Python libraries like Pandas, NumPy, Django, and many others. Real life example is like that courier service. Imagine you are sending a courier. On the package, you write receiver name, city, state. The courier company does not care in which order you wrote this label, as long as each label has the correct value. The package reaches the right destination. Keyword arguments work it exactly in same the way. The parameters name are like labels on the package. Python reads the labels, not the orders. Common interview question is what is the difference between positional arguments and keyword arguments? Positional arguments are matched according to their position. Keyword arguments are matched according to their parameter names. In keyword arguments, the order does not matter. This is a very common Python interview question, so make sure you remember it. Let's summarize today's topic. This keyword argument topic. A keyword argument is an argument passed using the parameter name. Then move to next topic, single argument, single star argument and double star argument. Until now, every function we created expected a fixed number of arguments. For example, I am created here to name and age fixed number of arguments. But what if I write like that? This is fixed number of argument. When we run this code, it will print 30 correctly. If I write here this, then it will give an immediately an error. Similarly, if I write like that, it will also give an error. Become because Python expected easily it's exactly two arguments. Now imagine you are creating a calculator application. Sometimes the user wants to add two numbers, five numbers, 20 numbers. Will you create separate functions for every case? Of course not. Python has a much smarter solution. It provides variables length arguments. This means a function can expect any number of arguments, whether the user sends one value, five value, 100 values, or even 1000 values. The same functions can handle them. Python provides two special operators for this. First is single star argument and double star arguments. We will understand both one by one. Part 1 is single star argument. First, remove this. The star tells Python collect all the extra positional argument into one variable. The word args is just a name. You can write sing star data, star numbers, star values, but my convention almost every Python programmer write star arguments. Our first example is this function. Let's understand what happened. Inside the function, we wrote numbers single star num, and now when we call numbers 1 2 3, Python collects all three values together internally. Python creates num equal tuple 1 2 3. This that means num is a tuple. Very important point. Whenever we use single arguments, Python creates all received values inside a tuple. Suppose we call number 5 only, then run this code. It will print 5 comma. Even though there's only one value, Python still creates a tuple. That's why the commas appear. Why is it useful? Imagine a shopping cart. Sometimes the customer buys one item, sometimes three items, sometimes 10 items. The shopping cart does not care. It stores everything together. Single star arguments work exactly like that. It collects every argument inside one container. Loops through single star arguments. Since single star arguments is a tuple, we can use a loop. Let's create a program to calculate total like that. The output of this is 30. Let's understand every line. The function receives 5, 10, 15. Python creates, stores them as tuple 5, 10, 15. Now we create sum equal to 0. Then the loop starts. First iteration is 5. Sum equal to 0 plus 5 equal to sum becomes 5. Second iteration I equal to 10. Sum 5 plus 10 now 15. Third iteration I equal to 15. Sum 15 plus 15 now 30. Finally, print sum. Output is 30. Simple. Real life example. Imagine you are collecting exam marks. One student has three subjects, five subjects, eight subjects. Instead of creating separate function, you write one function using single star argument. No matter how many marks are given, the functions works. And move to second part, double star argument. Now let's understand this. Suppose instead of only values, we also want labels. For example, instead of 20, Rahul at 20, we want name Rahul age 20. For this, Python provides double star arguments. What is double star arguments? Double star arguments collects all the keyword arguments into one variable. Again, KW args is only a name. We could write double star data, double star details, but almost every programmer writes double star KW arguments. On screen, I am giving you one example here like that. When we check it, the output, let's understand this. Python receives name equal to Rahul and age equal to 20. Instead of storing them in a tuple, Python stores them inside a dictionary. Internally, Python creates data dictionary name equal to Rahul, age equal to 20. That's why the output is dictionary. I'm giving you one more example here. When we print this, it will give also dictionary. The function accepts any number of keyword arguments. Accessing dictionary values. Since double star argument is a dictionary, we can access values using keys like this. And remove this part. Hmm. When we run this code, it will print round. Or we can loop through all values like this. When we run this code, it will print name Rahul age 20. This is very useful when building real world application. Difference between single star argument and double star argument. This is one of the most frequently asked interview questions. Let's compare them. Single star arguments accept multiple positional arguments, stores values inside a tuple, uses one star arguments. Uses one star. Double star arguments accept multiple keyword arguments, store value inside of dictionary, uses two stars. Easy trick to remember. Think about a school classroom. If the teacher says everyone tells me your marks, students simply reply 90, 85, 95. Only values. This is like single star. Now imagine the teacher asks, tell me your subject and marks. Student reply math 90, science 85, English 95. Now every value has a label. This is like double star arguments. Real world uses of these two arguments are used extensively, like using in NumPy, Pandas, machine learning libraries, automation scripts, and APIs. Whenever the programmer does not know how many values user will send, these features become extremely useful. Let's summarize this. Single star argument accept unlimited positional arguments, stores them as a tuple, and double star argument accept unlimited keyword arguments, store them as a dictionary. So far in today's class, we have learned how to create functions, pass arguments, return values, use default arguments, keyword arguments, and even variable length arguments. Now let's understand another very important concept in Python called variable scope. Many beginners get confused by this topic. Sometimes they create a variable inside a function and try to use it outside. Sometimes they create a variable outside the function and wonder why it works inside. To understand all of this, we need to know about scope. What is a scope? The world scope simply means the area where a variable can be accessed. In other words, scope tells us where can variable be used. I am giving you scope definition in note section. Scope tells us where can this variable be used. Think of a scope like the boundary of a room. Some things are available only inside one room. Some things are available throughout the entire house. Variables work in exactly the same way. In Python, there are mainly two types of variables, local variables, global variables. Let's understand them one by one. First is local variable. Let's remove this, write the topic, local variable. I'm giving you one example like this. Let's understand this carefully. We created a function named demo. Inside this function, we created a variable x equal to 10. Then we printed print x. Finally, we called the function demo. Output is 10. Simply, everything works perfectly. Why does it work? Because the variable x was created inside the function. Python allows us to use it anywhere inside the same function. Can we use it outside like that? Mm, What do you think? What will happen? Many beginners expect 10-10, but that's not correct. Python will give an error. Why? Because x belongs only to the functions. Once the functions finishes, that variable disappears. It no longer exists. That's why Python cannot find it outside. Definition of local variable. A local variable is a variable that is created inside a function. It can only be used inside that function. Once the function ends, the local variable is destroyed. It cannot be accessed from outside. Real life example is like that. Imagine your classroom. Inside the classroom, there is a whiteboard. Only students inside that classroom we can use it. A student outside cannot access it. That whiteboard is like a local variable. It belongs only to the classroom. Similarly, a local variable belongs only to its functions. Another example of local variable is like that. When we run this code, it will print Raul. And part two is global variables. I am writing code here like that. The output is 50. Notice something. This time the variable was not created inside the function. Instead, it was created at the top of the program. X equal to 50. The variable is called a global variable because it belongs to the entire program. Any function can use it. When function execute print x, it first looks for x inside the function. It does not find one. The Python looks outside the function. There it finds x equal to 50, so it prints 50. Definition of global variable. A global variable is created outside every function. I'm giving you here definition of global variable and definition of local variable. Yeah. Real life example is like that. Imagine the Wi-Fi in your college. Every classroom can access the same Wi-Fi. It is not limited to the one classroom. That's exactly how a global variable works. It is available everywhere in the program. Local versus global. Let's compare both of them. What do you think the output will be? Many students think 10-10. But that's incorrect. Output is 10 and 100. Why? Because there are actually two different variables. Inside the function Python uses 10, outside the function Python uses 100. The local variable hides the global variable inside that function. This is called variable shadowing. Modify a global variable. Now comes a very important concept. Suppose we write like this function. The output of this function is 20. Let's understand this carefully. Initially x equal to 10. Now it's inside the function. We write global x. What does this mean? It tells Python does not create any a new local, use the global variable instead. After that, we write x equal to 20. Now Python changes the original global variable, so after the function finishes, the value becomes 20. That's why Python print x prints 20. What happens without global? Now let's remove the keyword here, global x. Then we run this code, it will print 10. Why? Because x equal to 20 creates a new local variable. It does not change the global one. The global variable remains 10. This is one of the most common mistakes beginners make. If you want to modify a global variable, you must use the global keyword. Real life example. Imagine your college has one official notice board. Everyone can read it. That notice board is a global variable. Now suppose the one classroom writes something on its own blackboard. Only students inside that classroom can see it. That blackboard is the local variable. If you want to change the official notice board, you need permission from the principal. Similarly, to change a global variable, Python requires global keyword. Common interview question is like that. I'm giving also in note section. Can a local variable be accessed outside a function? Answer is no. It exists only inside the function. And second interview question is, can a global variable be used inside a function? The answer is yes, as long as there is not a local variable with the same name. And question number three, can we modify a variable inside a function? Yes, but only using the global keyword. Let's summarize everything. Local variable created inside a function accessible only inside the function, destroyed when the function finishes, cannot be accessible outside. Global variable create outside the all functions, accessible throughout program, can be read inside any function. To modify it inside a function, use the global keyword. And at last, I am giving you some project and solving one of project. Like I am first project was calculator. Our first project was calculator function. Let's first def add a comma b, return a plus b, then def subtract a comma b, then return a minus b, print add 20 10, print subtract 20 comma 10. When we run this code 30 and 10, this is the first. calculator function. Project 2 is even odd function. This is your homework. This is your homework. Project 3 factorial function. This is also your homework. And this is the no, I am not giving you solution. Solve. If you see it, then forget that part. And at last, I am giving you some practice questions and homework questions. In note section, I am giving you some practice question and some homework questions also. Today, we learned how Python functions make programs modular and reusable. We covered functions, parameters, arguments, return value, default arguments, keyword arguments, variable length arguments, and variable scope. We also built mini projects using functions in day 7. We will move on to Python collections, lists, tuples, sets, and dictionaries, and learn how to store data and manage multiple pieces of data efficiency. Keep practicing, and I will see you in the next class.